Welcome to Homeschool is a Work of Heart. I'm Melissa Webb, and after years in the classroom and years homeschooling and supporting those in home education, and even more years creating curriculum for families like yours, I have learned this. Homeschooling isn't about perfection. It is about purpose. And this podcast is here to encourage you, to guide you, and to remind you that what you're doing truly matters. Are you ready to get started? Let's go. Well, hello there, everyone. How is summer treating you? I hope you're having a relaxed and a wonderful start to your summer. I am able to catch up with friends. I like this slower pace. It's certainly lovely while I'm still working, of course. I'm also having a great time with some great people. And it was through a conversation that I was having that led me to this week's podcast topic about the business that was never yours, as in, nope, none of your business. So do you spend enormous emotional energy trying to control things that were never yours to control? I think a lot of us do this. I used to do it more than I do today. And recently, when I was having a conversation with someone who was sharing how this one person has such a way of getting under her skin that she just wishes this person were no longer included in these group gatherings. And she was really struggling with it and was curious about my thoughts. And by no means do I think I have more or better answers or solutions than the next person, but I do love to converse. I do love to have good conversations that are a little more elevated. And a lot of the thoughts that I have obviously are based on my personal experience, my faith, information that I've collected over many decades. And the one thing that I shared with this dear person was something I was taught many years ago and have successfully applied to my life in so many relationships for the better. So if you're someone who also wishes that people would act as you see fit for their good and for the good of others around them, then I think you're going to glean a lot from this week's episode. So I'm going to go back in time when I was given a book to read. It was called The Work by Byron Katie. I've probably mentioned it in other podcasts. She is an American author and a speaker. She hosts a podcast as well, and you can certainly do your own search on her. She has a very interesting backstory. I won't get into it, but it's pretty fascinating. And I see her as a modern day philosopher. Our worldviews differ, certainly, but I have found several of her concepts incredibly helpful and insightful. They're just good things to chew on for a while and see how you might apply them to your life. But the one that especially intrigued me was the concept about the three universal kinds of business. So there's my business, your business, and God's business. And that's it. 3 kinds of business. And I'll break them down for you. And then I'm going to share an excerpt from her book. But when she says there's my business, so when we talk about my business, it's referring to the things that are my thoughts, my attitudes, my choices, my words, my actions, my responses. Those are all my business. When she refers to your business, it's just like it sounds. Your choices, your opinions, your behaviors, your emotions, your decisions. And when she refers to God's business, it's everything beyond human control, like weather and illness and the timing of things that you just can't explain, unexpected events, things like that. So let me read from her book. This is from Byron Katie, and she writes, Notice when you hurt that you are mentally out of your business. If you're not sure, stop and ask, mentally, whose business am I in? There are only 3 kinds of business in the universe: mine, yours, and God's. Whose business is it if an earthquake happens? That's God's business. Whose business is it if your neighbor down the street has an ugly lawn? Your neighbor's business. Whose business is it if you are angry at your neighbor down the street because he has an ugly lawn? Your business. Okay, do you get the idea? This is very easy to test, by the way. The next time that you are hurting, maybe you're sad or you're angry or you're frustrated, you're irritated, maybe you're really worried, I want you to stop just for a moment and ask yourself, whose business am I in? Would you like some examples? You know, I love examples. I always think they help this concept resonate a little stronger with each of us. So let me give you a few examples. Example 1, have you ever thought something like, I just wish my child cared more about his education and learning? Something along those lines. I want you to ask yourself, when you have a thought like that, whose business are you in? Whose business is that to care about his education and his learning? It's actually not yours. It's his. Now, it's not to say that you don't have some business in this situation, especially if you're a homeschooler, because your business is to create a rich learning environment, to show up and teach consistently, to be encouraging and attempt to be inspiring, model, of course, a love of learning yourself. But the hard truth is this: you cannot manufacture your child's motivation. You can inspire it and you can nurture it, you can pray for it, but you can't choose it for your child. You can't make your child care and love about education and learning. I wish I have a lot of students I would have done that with had I only had the power, but I don't. Your child may not value education today the way you hope or the way you wish. He may even resist it for a season or 2 or 3. While you continue, though, to guide and encourage him, that's your business. Just remember, the decision to engage ultimately belongs to him. And the moment we begin trying to control someone else's thoughts, choices, feelings, any of that, we are stepping into their business. And it's where we often are going to find ourselves feeling frustrated or worrying, or sometimes even feeling resentment. So just be aware of it. Stay in your own business, not other people's. So let's do another example. Have you ever thought something like, my sister is just not parenting her kids well at all? Or maybe it's not your sister, maybe it's a friend, right? You get the idea. You're watching somebody else parent her children, could be from toddlers to teens, doesn't matter. And you have an opinion about it. It's not the way you would do it. Certainly not the way you would do it. So because you have this thought, my sister is not parenting well, we need to be careful, because whose business is it, that parenting piece? It's actually your sister's or your friend's. So do you have any business in it? Well, if it's been asked of you, sure, you can certainly give your 2 cents. But the real goal for you is to just be supportive. Offer encouragement if it's welcome, sure. Share maybe some of your parenting experiences with humility, and speak the truth with kindness if it's a situation that you feel truly calls for that. But again, you cannot make someone parent the way that you would parent. You can't control your sister's decisions or what priorities she and her husband have for their children. You can't make her teach the lessons that you think that she should be teaching her children. And the moment you begin carrying the weight of someone else's parenting choices, again, you are stepping out of your business and into theirs. And it's just a burden that you were never meant to carry. And I've seen too often things spiral in a very downward way quickly because most people don't want you in their business. Isn't that true? I've experienced this as well. So let me give you one last example, and I'm going to get back to that earlier conversation that I mentioned where she had said that every time this one individual joins a group gathering, my friend notices the atmosphere changes. And she has also said she's not the only one who notices it. And she has admitted that she just wishes this person would either change in personality or simply stop coming. So what thoughts did I share? Well, yes, I did introduce the concept of the 3 universal types of business. And I shared that whether that person changes her personality or attends a gathering or not really isn't her business, meaning it's out of her control. Obviously, someone isn't extending an invite to this person, and how that person shows up and behaves, what she does, what she says, also none of her business. And I get that feels frustrating because it's also admitting there are so many things that are out of our control. But isn't that the truth? So many things are out of our control. When we feel out of control, however, as human beings, we struggle because there's a piece of our brain that is trying to keep everything together for the safety of all involved. So it's a real struggle. Yeah, the struggle is real for sure. So then what did I suggest as her business? What can she do in this situation? Well, her business is deciding how she will respond. That's it. She can decide not to attend events that person will be present. She can also be at an event, and if she starts to be annoyed, she has the option to leave. That she can control. She also could just choose to practice some patience with this person, extend some kindness. The question is, will she allow this one difficult person, let's just say, to determine whether or not she's going to enjoy the event? Because that's all she can control. And the reality is we can't control who shows up at the events we didn't plan, and we cannot control what other people are going to say, how they're going to act, what they're going to do, but we can and should control our own attitudes, our own words, our own actions. The more we try to manage someone else's behavior, they don't change, but we get more frustrated. We get more exhausted. And guess what? That person still shows up in the same annoying manner that they always had because we can't control them. And when we try, we are just creating so much unnecessary stress, drama, things like that in our own lives just by trying to manage someone else's life. Why not just let them be? That was my suggestion for her. Just let them be. Your job is to just work on yourself. Maybe this is about you growing as a person. Maybe it has nothing to do with the other person. Imagine that. Now, again, a lot of times people will say, yeah, but you know what? I'm just trying to be loving. I'm just trying to be a helpful person to my sister. I'm just trying to be honest, right? Those all sound really, really great. But the truth is, the underlying truth of that statement right there is that what we're really trying to do is just be controlling. And I speak from firsthand experience. I have shared with you before, I am a recovering control addict. I love to be in control of things. Just ask my family about that. So I do speak from experience. And when I applied my business, your business, and God's business to a lot of the relationships that I was experiencing, circumstances outside of my control, it was just a game changer. And there is a huge difference because truly coming at something with love, for example, should sound like, hey, I am here to support you. If you're coming at something with the intention, even if it's very slyly, to be controlling, in your head, it's going to be more like, I would feel a whole lot better if you would just change. So you have to have this moment of honesty. Are you here to support others, or are you just wishing people would change? Now, I will also say that this business concept shows up frequently in the form of worry. So if you're not a control person, are you someone who worries a whole heck of a lot? Because I have heard plenty of moms say things like, I just worry whether or not my child's going to get into the college of her dreams. I want that for her so badly. Or I'm just worried that my child's never going to love reading the way I love reading. Or my worry is that my son is never going to become as responsible as I know he needs to be as an adult. Or I'm worried my child will not choose to share the same faith we do. Have you had any of these worries? They are common. You are not alone. But are you seeing it now? Are you picking up what I am putting down? To be clear, I'm not saying you shouldn't care or you shouldn't strive to be the very best parent that you can be. Of course, you should. Loving your child deeply and guiding them with intention is absolutely your business. And some of the things that you are choosing to worry about are ultimately God's business. Let that go. Your business is today's learning, today's lesson, today's conversation that you have, today's encouragement that you offer to someone, today's prayers. I would say that too. You are planting seeds, you are watering those seeds, but ultimately God is the one who will bring the growth. And I know we want guarantees. Gosh, wouldn't that make life so lovely if we could just have guarantees? We want certainty that all of our hard work is going to produce exactly the outcome that we envision for our children, especially. But parenting has never come with that promise. What it does come with is an invitation to be faithful, to be trusting. And when you've done what is yours to do, just trust God with what only He can do. Trust your children with the business that is theirs, that they will choose wisely, that they will make good decisions. I don't know about you, but when I realized that I can let go of so much, I felt it incredibly freeing. And it reminds me that I don't have to carry tomorrow today. I don't have to force outcomes that are beyond my control. So maybe and hopefully the next time that you catch yourself hurting or worrying, you will be able to pause and ask that one simple question. Wait, whose business am I in right now? It's definitely worth a good journal. That's a great prompt. So spend some time in an area that has been offering you some confusion or conflict, and spend some time in those thoughts. The answer may just lead you away from trying to control things and instead finding peace in what is. And I truly want that for you, my friend. Right on. And that's it for today. Thank you so much for joining me. And hey, if you are feeling stretched thin and you would love some support with teaching writing, I offer programs designed to make that part of homeschooling easier and more enjoyable for both you and your child. I also have free resources on my website, so please be sure to check those things out and subscribe to the podcast. You do not have to do this alone. Right on.